us. Just tune in, tell a friend and join us to discuss topics that affect us, whether personal or political, local or international. It is a platform for us to build from, so the community can grow to be strong. To the host, Raymond Dugue, Michael Duncan, two of our honorary humanitarian. It's real and it not bogus. Stand against those who stand against us when situation rough and get tedious, get tedious, get tedious. Community focus, community focus, community, yo, we have to adjust. Community focus, community focus. Ask the Almighty, Him will guide us. Community focus, community focus. Live up.
Marcus can words come to pass. Marcus can words come to pass. Can't get no food to eat. Can't get no money to spend. Oh, can't get no food to eat. Can't get no money to spend. Oh. Come, little one, oh, let me do what I can for you. And you, hello. Come, little one, come. Oh, let me do what I can. For you and you alone. Oh, you know the right hand do it now. Shall be spanked with many stripes. Weeping and wailing and mourning. You got yourself to rest.
Okay. Greetings. Welcome to the community focused radio show of the UNIA FACA Rock Media. Today is Monday, November 6th, 2023, and we are back live in the Hillside Studios, but we're back from Kenya and Ethiopia. Well, not all of us. Some of us are still on the beautiful continent of Africa, where they belong. And I'm speaking of none other than your President General, the Honorable Michael R. Duncan, who is still in Africa where he belongs. Greetings. Welcome to the UNIA FACA Rock Media with the first Assistant President General of the UNIA, Raymond Dugue, and your host, the Honorable Michael R. Duncan in Africa. Greetings, President General. How are you?
Greetings, brother. I'm doing fine. How are you? So you're hearing me clear?
Loud and clear. Okay, why don't you tell us where in Africa you are right now?
Wow. My dear brothers and sisters, I'm in Liberia right now. But I left Ethiopia. I stopped in Ghana for a few days, and I'm actually in Liberia, Monrovia, Liberia, as we speak, traveling the globe. We have a whole lot of things to see on the African continent. Therefore, we have a lot of places to go. You yourself, brother, I know in a few days you're going to be in a different country again, in Africa again. You seem to love Africa as much as I love it, my dear brother.
I think there's a big difference. When I go to Africa, I'm traveling and visiting. When you're in Africa, you're doing business and building our nation. So there's a slight difference. But President General, hold it. Right now, you're in Liberia. Where were you yesterday?
In Ghana.
And where were you 3 days prior to that?
In Kenya and Ethiopia.
Wow. So you're a real globetrotter. I can't tell you, but anyway, I can see where you are. It looks like a very nice location, well
Yes.
secure, and I'm sure you're doing well over there. Okay, President General, let us know what happened in Kenya. Go right ahead, sir.
Hey, as we have spoken about, Kenya, it's just one of the lands, one of the parts of the land where time actually began for us, in Africa. Can't be it Kenya, Ethiopia, Kemet. It's our father's land, and the possibilities of visiting Kenya was just an amazing idea, an idea that came to fruition. But just going there and seeing our people, greeting the Maasai people, some of the original peoples of the world, it was just amazing seeing our culture, getting to understand the role that we play, but then also seeing the struggles of our people. It actually reminds us of why we are here as the UNIA ACL of the world. But overall, it was just a wonderful thing. But when I come to Africa, it always recharges me to plan and to continue to building for our people, my brother.
Okay, President General. Okay, we left New York Friday, October 20th. We arrived Saturday, the 21st of October. We got to Nairobi. Okay, President General, have you ever seen a cleaner place than Nairobi? Please respond.
The people there have it together. They take pride in the place where they live, where they have their habitat. It's just a solid system there where the people take care of where they live, and that's the way it should be. So I'm just fascinated with the whole environment.
Okay, Nairobi's incredibly clean. We went to the giraffe center. Talk to us about the giraffe center. And did you get a chance to feed the giraffe?
Yes, yes, of course. You have to realize that that's the beauty about Africa, because a lot of these things that we see in Africa, it's no place else. The animals, them, you have the experiences with. That's why people have to travel to Africa for certain things, because there's nowhere else on earth you find so many of those things in its natural habitat, in its environment. Having the experience of seeing the giraffe up and so close to you, it's just amazing to see the strength, the power, the muscles
Mm.
in these animals, and having it being so calm that you can actually feed it was just another tremendous experience. And these are the experiences if you get a chance to have when you go to Africa, and especially in that region where you have Kenya, solid as a rock, my brother.
Okay, we had a chance to see the giraffes up front. And remember, as after feeding the giraffes, we went into a presentation where the presenter discussed the 3 different types of giraffes in Kenya, and also had us feel and pass around the one of the bones. Now, I don't think, I mean, they're pretty big. I mean, these are really tall, excuse me, tall mammals, and they're all vegetarian. But it's hard to
Excuse me.
imagine the size and the weight of that bone. I know when it was being passed around to you, I could see you were struggling.
Yeah.
Like, whoa, what's going on here? So, President General, explain, share that with our listeners. I don't think people understand how big and strong and powerful these animals are. And we're talking about a giraffe. Go right ahead.
Yeah, we take these things for granted, but the bone you're talking about was that of a baby giraffe.
Yes.
So if that was the bone of a baby giraffe and so feels so heavy and must have been so powerful at that stage of life. But so we take these things for granted, but then we get a chance to come up close to these animals that make such a great difference to our ecosystem. And as I said, people have to come to the motherland, certain parts of Africa, to have these experiences. Everyone but the need to experience what we did with these animals and just the environment in general.
Okay. Now let's talk about the safari. Nairobi, being the capital city, is the only capital city on the planet that has a safari. So we were blessed to do that. The driving, seeing all of the animals. I don't think we saw an elephant, and I think it's because there are no elephants in the national safari. But you saw everything else. You saw the monkeys. You saw your lion. I know you're a big lion fan. You saw the leopard, the rhinoceros. We even saw some the buffaloes, big gargantuan animals. Talk to us about the animals and which one. Well, we know it's the lion. Other than the lion, which was your other most favorite animal to witness and observe? Go right ahead.
Apart from that, we saw the giraffe. We go back to the giraffe again, and what was amazing is that the giraffe actually sleeps standing.
Yes.
You remember when we were entering, we saw a giraffe standing, and after about 4 or 5 hours, we're coming back. The giraffe was still in the same position
That's right.
for almost 5 hours. So that in itself, I was amazed. And they actually sleep standing. And one of the reasons is that the giraffe at any given time, they have to be prepared for predators who are hunting them. Therefore, they can't afford to be laying down, which it would take them a few seconds or maybe even a minute or so to get up, which means instant death. So they have to be prepared. But I was amazed that they could stay in that position for such a long time. But we saw some of the other animals like the rhinoceros, the hippopotamus. It's just but it's amazing the size of these animals and how solid they are. And as I said again, the role they play in that ecosystem. But so we go out there and it's just solid, solid, solid to see these big, strong beings that's making a difference out there, brother.
Okay. Before we even we got to the park, before we even started the safari, there was a Maasai. They were chanting, and a lot of our members went to dance with them, put on their traditional blanket, and they were jumping, hopping. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, but it's great to see our people, to see that part of our heritage still here. We were supposed to have been disappeared from this planet, from the continent. We shouldn't be having these experiences today based on what we went through as a people, but um, the resistance in us is strong, the will to survive. It's just amazing. So seeing the Maasai people this year, this time, in this place was just great. And that's part of our culture. So I, as an individual, had to join them. They did robe me in one of their blankets,
Mhm.
and just being there with our brothers and sisters in the environment, in the culture, it's just second to none. Brothers and sisters, all I have to say to you, these experiences were not meant for me and Brother Raymond and a few of us. It's meant for the whole of us. So you have to make your time, you have to make the effort to go see your people, to go see your culture, your ancestral land, and to be a part of this environment, because I can't relate to you the feeling I had. You have to experience it yourself.
It's so funny you say that because I'm looking at you when you were with the Maasai, and I wanted to tell you, President General, can you stop smiling? Can you stop giving away the business? Can you just be decent? But the smile was so contagious. It's like, this is what I want to do. And I mean, everybody got involved, taking pictures, dancing with them. And President General, Mr. Garvey does not necessarily say that, but he does. It must come out of love. I mean, all that he does is for the love of this beautiful Black and noble race. And, Mr. Garvey's got to play the fine line. He's got to chastise us because he wants us to be so good. It's like a child. You don't want to, overwhelmingly give up everything to your child. You want to uplift them, but you always got to keep them in line. And so, while traveling to Africa, well, we don't really do a good job of keeping us in line because we just want to give. We just want to share, open our hearts. And so I remember looking at you as I was taking pictures. Well, everybody, but especially you. So I wanted to tell you, President General, stop smiling. Okay, this is contagious. We're here on a mission to uplift the race, but to uplift the race, there must be love. Your thoughts on
Of
that?
course. Yes, yes. No, it's but it has to be for you to do the things that we're doing right now. It's love of one's race. Um, it's the need to want to learn. We were taken away from civilization. We have only learned some bad things, some evil things. So we have to go back where time all started for us, to go back and retrain our mind to see what life is supposed to be like. And that's what it takes to go back to Africa, the peaceful nature of Africa, the love of a brother man. We see how peaceful these people are. So again, it's just a great feeling where, brothers and sisters, I'm still smiling on the inside right now because of these experiences and what I've learned, what I've seen. And as I said, it has only made me more stronger, more determined to work on behalf of our people under one God, one aim, one destiny. And of course, it's always race first.
Always.
Sankofa, we go back to Africa that we can learn so we can bring it forward to make a difference. And that's what we're doing.
Okay, continuing, we're gonna continue on this line, this trajectory. Okay, we did the tour. We drove around Nairobi. The place is absolutely clean. President General, I know you had told me you were not going to buy. You were going to be disciplined. You were not going to just give up your money because you already have so much. You've already bought half of Africa anyway in your home, in your business. So you told me you were going to be disciplined and not go shopping. What happened to that, sir?
Well, the first thing when you go to these places, we know the financial situation and we know the predicament of our brothers and sisters, and we realize that we have to play a role. in the economic system there. When we go to these places, a lot of these people, they count on the dollars that we're bringing. And if we don't bring these dollars, some of them it's difficult for them to survive. So they rely on these dollars. So some of the time we end up buying things. You talk about me, brother. What about you? You actually became a salesman for these people. It's not that like 'cause you're selling for yourself, but you became the salesman for these people, for these brothers and sisters, be it in Kenya, be it in Ethiopia, wherever you are selling, selling, selling for these brothers and sisters. But the key thing in that process, you were buying, buying, buying as well, because you end up buying things that you don't need. And this is what I'm telling my brothers and sisters: you only get these experiences when you're with our people, when you're back in the clutches of your brothers and sisters, civilization, Africa. And those are the experiences we have, and realize that we must make a difference. And I did think, Brother Raymond, we made a difference
Absolutely.
in our people's life. But so we did, and we will continue to do so.
You know, President General, when I address our people, the UNIA, our organizations, I take such pleasure in saying greetings, Africans. I think that's the highest calling anybody can have. And so I
Of
take
course.
pride in that. When I say greetings, Africans, this is to me, that's the highest calling. So when I'm in Africa, well, it doesn't matter where I'm at, but I take great pleasure in that. So, but President General, you know, we did shopping, yes, and I bought things. Hold it, before we even get to that, I'll tell you what I'm really impressed with Kenya. Their T-shirts, their garments are made in Kenya. That's impressive.
Yeah.
And I know you. In fact, I already purchased T-shirts, but I saw you buying T-shirts, so I said, "Hold it, I gotta support our brethren." So I ended up buying T-shirts for Amil and everybody. And but between you and I and our listeners, the quality of those T-shirts in Kenya, I think, is second to none. Go ahead, your thoughts.
Right. No, you're right. Excellent t-shirts. And but then as I said, you find reasons to support. And some of the t-shirts were educational
Especially the one with the Swahili,
in
because I
Kenya.
bought a
And
couple.
even
I'm
yeah.
sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No. So, no, you go ahead, brother.
No, I even bought some T-shirts with the Swahili words. And the other day, I was going over the words. I said, "Oh, this is good." I was writing it down, and you could see the effort that we made to speak Swahili. I mean, it's not
Yes.
perfect, but that's the point. That's the beauty of it, because you want to do it. This is the communication with our brethren. But those T-shirts, I mean, Amil hasn't picked up his T-shirts yet, but yesterday I'm looking at them. I really appreciate them. So put it this, brothers and sisters who are listening. Number one, you have to travel to Africa. There's no doubt about it. That's number one. But number two is you have to travel with us, because we go as a group and we learn, develop, we bond, we break bread. I mean, spend 2 weeks with anybody and you're always together. Believe me, you will get to know each other and you'll make fun of each other and you'll enjoy it. President General, talk to us about some of our travelers. What comes across your mind when we do this past trip, especially in Kenya? Go right ahead.
Well, but it's always a beauty to be able to spend 2 weeks with your brothers and sisters, especially when you have the same objective. Spending the 2 weeks, waking up early in the morning, breaking bread together, traveling, learning, building. It's just a solid thing. When we went to the museum in Kenya,
Mm.
and we're learning together, and some of the things we're happy with, some of the things we're disappointed with. And again, it comes back to where we want to make a difference. as a people, because we're not just visiting Africa for the sake of just learning, but to see how we can make a difference, to see how we can come back and teach, to see how we can tell our people what's going on, what went on in Africa, and what's going on. Everyone is taking our history, everyone is taking our story, and we get a chance to be a part of the Lion historian team. So one of the greatest things for me is to see as we learn how sometimes we are amazed as we learn. Sometimes we're so happy, sometimes we're so sad, and sometimes it just makes us more determined to do the work that we have to do.
Mm. President General, inform our listeners of actually the three young African men that we met in Nairobi. You know, the brother from Kenya, the brother from Uganda, who traveled 12 hours to come and meet us in Nairobi. And then the other two brothers, brother Maobe Victor and brother Ciel. Go ahead. Tell our listeners what was all that about.
Yeah, it's good to see young brothers in Africa with a Pan-African mindset. Sometimes it seems like the Pan-Africanism has been wiped out of our brothers and sisters on the continent, or sometimes in the Caribbean. And sometimes we're saying that it's only in North America it maintained, but it's an honor. It's with breath freshening that we see our young brothers have a Pan-African mindset and they want to build. They're excited about the UNIA. Our brother from Uganda, just he's talking about like, is the Black Cross nurse still there? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he's really learning and he's excited to even have the opportunity to speak to us, to confirm certain things. So my brother, it's just a solid thing, and to be able to live and learn and have these experiences, they're second to none. All I can say, brothers and sisters, if you're listening, you need to not only book, but also become a part of the UNIA so we can continue to work on behalf of our brothers and sisters. Because while we had a whole lot of fun and it was mind-boggling, tintillating our minds, our taste buds. However, the objective is to come back and do something with what you learn. The passion that was instilled in us, we have to come back and make it work for our people. We have to look at the positive things that we actually learned and love, and we're looking at the things that our people are still struggling. Our people are like second class citizens in their lands. And we have to be the ones who are going to liberate our people because they don't have the means. And even if they have the means, it's twice as difficult. Therefore, we have to help to create that system where our people can liberate themselves.
Mm. President General, the young lady that we met at the National Museum. First of all, did you appreciate the National Museum of Kenya?
Yes, I did. But I missed a big portion of it. Uh, but even once I came in, I could see how much the group had appreciated. I could see how much you were into it, Brother Nigel, and so many of our brothers and sisters who were into it. So it's amazing. And the problem with us is that we know so much that sometimes we're going to have to tell the presenters because we are so prepared in this type of work in Black people's business that most of the time when we have presenters, we're going to know a little bit more than they do where it pertains to certain things. But the greatest thing sometimes is to learn because sometimes the things how they're presenting it, we know that these presenters are trained and that's what they know because that's what they were taught. But we're there to confirm certain things and to bring it back. So even though sometimes we hear things that we don't agree with, we know how to appreciate them anyway.
Absolutely. No, whenever I go to a museum or even a lecture, I'm bringing my notepad, I'm bringing my pen because I'm taking notes because I'm taking this stuff seriously because I need to absorb it and then return it back with the truth and connect the dots. Everything is about connecting the dots. And also, President General, Dr. Amos Wilson, he comes out with the 7 constants. And one of it is control over the domain of discourse. That means they determine what we even discuss. I mean, and that's like a total a control of us as a people, where they're going to make these museums and they're going to allow us to know what they believe or what they accept for us to learn. And
Right.
you just think about it. You say, wow, we're really, what do you call it, an occupied people, whether we're in our homeland or not. And it's just amazing that, when you try to just drop some basic knowledge in people's minds, and sometimes I marvel at that. I'm thinking, wow, this enemy's done a really good job. you know, no, I'm always thinking, wow. I mean, even things that you can prove, like the sun is the source of all life, and they're gonna argue with you. I'm thinking, wow, that's pretty good. That this is, and it lets you know what we're faced up against. But going back to that young lady, absolutely, she had I think she had a regular slave name like you and I. And then I mean, it was amazing. All of us said, well, what's your African name? She said, okay. And then she said, I forgot what it meant. And then she told us her African name. And from that point on, that's what we were calling her. And this reminds us of our brother in Ghana. Remember when we first met him? He was telling us
Yes.
his Western name. And then we said to him, listen, we didn't come to Africa to hear that name. What's your African name? And then he told us Kofi. And then from that point on, that became his name. But unbelievably, all around Ghana, they know him by his Western name. We're probably the only ones that call him the African name. And he doesn't get it. That's what we want. That's Sankofa going back and fetch the best in us. And it's almost like, we were really enslaved, but, Africa is still virgin, is still beautiful. And so that young lady, I know Sister Keisha really took a liking to her. And I remember Sister Keisha telling me, I really feel for her because this is a highly intelligent, highly educated African. But President General, there are no jobs. And she's been in communication with Brother Nigel, and she's been telling Brother Nigel, I just want to leave. There's no future here. And misguidedly, we believe, Europe is the answer, or America, or any place but home. So it just reinforces that race first is the solution, and that economics is the order of the day. Your thoughts, sir?
Yeah, and this basically tells us that Garvey and Garvism, we have to go back to it. It's still valid after 100 years, maybe even needed more now than ever. But as we see the teachings with our brothers and sisters, as we see the struggle, as we look at the salary structure, as we travel throughout Africa and African nations throughout the world, we see that our people are suffering. And we can see that unless there's a change where even compensation of our people is at an average level, our people won't be able to grow. Therefore, these African countries will not be able to grow because any system where the average person is not involved in the economic system, that system will not grow. And but so we can basically see where, since most of our countries have gotten independence, where are they? The income levels are very low. The economic systems are not developing because we have to understand. The thing is that when the slave masters moved out, while they gave the political power, but so the economic power was taken away and still controlled by others. Therefore, we continue to compensate our people at the rate where the slave masters were compensating them. So, technically speaking, some of the wages that we're paying, they're slave wages. And we have to bring a stop to these things. We have to speak to the various governments over the world, and we have to try to influence them. But for that to happen, for us to influence systems, we must be able to create jobs in these parts of the world where our people live and be able to hire them and compensate them at a higher level. I know it's difficult, but if we take a few years and we work and we build and we're doing business that's doing great, we have to be able to do that. Because again, unless we're able to influence this type of thinking, this type of economics in our various countries around the world, we won't ever see their economic system actually developing.
President General, we'll get back to Mombasa because while we were in Kenya, we also visited Mombasa. We took a plane. President, General, let me share data with you. 2019 is the last year we have full, complete data. 2020, 2021, 22, these are estimates. But 2019 is final and it's finalized. Okay, watch this. President General, in 2000, currently the gross domestic product, the GDP of Africa, is approximately 3 trillion. In 2019, this data is based on, it was 2.4 trillion. Okay? To all of Africa, we're talking 54 states, we're talking over 1.25 billion people. All of Africa in 2019 was $2.4 trillion. We're talking over 1.2 billion. We Black people in the United States at approximately 43 million. We spend $1.3 trillion in 2019. What does that really mean? President General, the top 5 largest economies in Africa, number 1 is the big time, Nigeria. Nigeria is less than 500 billion. Just think about it. And Nigeria is over 220 billion. It's actually, they're saying estimated it's like 230 million, excuse me. The gross domestic product of Nigeria with over 220 million Africans is about 448 million from 2019. So it's not even 450 billion. I'm sorry, I keep getting confused. The population is in millions. The GDP is in billions. Okay, we're talking $450 billion. The second largest economy in Africa is South Africa. It's always a competition between number 2 and 3. Most of the time it's South Africa, sometimes it's Egypt. But okay, let's stick with South Africa, number 2. They're at 350 billion. Egypt next is a little bit more than 300 billion. Number 4 and number 5 are 2 North African countries. Algeria at 165 billion, and Morocco at 115 billion. What's my point, President General? Those top 5 largest economies in Africa, we're talking Nigeria, we're talking South Africa, we're talking Egypt, Algeria, Morocco. The sum of those top 5 is barely 1.3 trillion. We 43 million Africans in North America or in the United States, we spend 1.3 trillion. So you just think about it. So if Africa is going to be free, the Africans in North America have to play a vital role. Your thoughts, sir?
They need us because while this system was not built for us, it's just that we're living in it. And
we've persevered. We built this thing, and this is what
yes,
Bobby was saying, that the Africans he said the Negro in America, but the Africans in America, in North America, we have had a peculiar relationship. They've enslaved, brutalized us, but we've persevered and we've lived in the belly of the beast. And that's why we're in the position we're in, even though we are discriminated, exploited, beaten. Go ahead, sir.
Yes. So we have a role to play, and the sooner we realize that, is the sooner we can see the development of Africa and African people. We Africans, we were placed in this environment for a reason, and we were trained properly by the slave masters. That's why we understand the predicament that we're in. That's why we know what we must do as African people. And it's the African in North America who are going to have to rise up and become that force that's going to make a difference in Africa. The Africa in North America going to have to understand that we're going to have to invest in Africa. But first, what we have to start doing, we have to start visiting Africa for ourselves.
Yes, sir.
Brothers and sisters, in Kenya, our Kenyan people are still second class citizens. If you're going to put the Caucasians aside and just say the Indians and the Blacks, our brothers and sisters are like second class citizens. They have second class medical facility for themselves and their children. Brothers and sisters, out in the Mombasa area, you have Indian schools, brothers and sisters, that our children can't attend because they're not allowed in our community. So we have to make sure that we begin to make that difference, and we begin to invest and create a different dynamic in Africa, because everyone else is preserving their way of life, and because they control the economic system and our people rely on them for jobs, then our people, but their growth is limited. So for anything to happen is that we must begin to play a significant role with African people all over the world. And you as an individual, I as an individual, can't make much of a difference, but collectively, when we put our resources together, we can say a lot. We have a lot to say. So, brothers and sisters, again, you just have to come forward, visit Africa for yourself, join our ranks, that we may build a better tomorrow for African people home and abroad.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm hearing you clear, brother.
I lost you for a while. All the way, President General, all the way. And by the way, Kenya is the number 6 largest economy. Just to tell you, as powerful as Kenya does look, I mean, you saw buildings every Nairobi, my God, completely clean, developed, all of that. But we know the truth. We know our people are struggling. But in Mombasa, it was so obvious. it was like you're back in India. And when I went on safari in April, I saw a lot of East Indians, and it's being marketed in India that Kenya is vacation land. So, and because I had to wonder, why did I see so many? And I found out in India, it's marketed. Oh, you want to go on vacation? You know, like in the US, they market the Caribbean as the vacation spot. In India, Kenya is what's being marketed. So that's why you see it, so many of them. So, President
Yeah.
General, it seems that wherever we go, we find that Mr. Garvey's vision was true. That everywhere we go, we're at the bottom, and that hasn't changed. And I dare say it will not change. In fact, it will never change unless we make it change. And we in North America have to get involved. There's no way it's going to be done because number one, we have the resources. We've taken full advantage of what has this peculiar relationship. And if we don't do it, it's not going to get done. So, and President General, share with our listeners, what did you find out was the minimum wage in Kenya?
Wow. When I first went there, I thought $200, but say a month, but represented the minimum. But I found out that it was way below that afterwards.
Mm,
At one point, again, I heard $80 per month.
mhm.
And if I'm not mistaken, I heard that figure may even be lowered.
I was told 30, $1 a day.
Exactly.
$30. President General, Curaçao's got a higher minimum wage. Jamaica has a higher minimum wage. But Kenya is a big place, huge.
Yeah.
And it's a strong, supposedly a strong economy, but it doesn't translate to our people. Your thoughts?
Well, what our people are, the level, the rate that our people are being compensated at, be it in Kenya, Ethiopia, Jamaica, Haiti, Trinidad, um, um, equals that of slave labor. And we have to advocate for our people. These things have to change. If there's anything faith worthy that we can do for our people, it must be under the banner of unity, one God, one aim, one destiny. Because, as I said, we can't ask our people to develop, we can't ask our people to create businesses, practice self reliance when compensation is at that level. And what we can do is begin trade with our people. And since we have a system we have developed already, one of the easiest way is to look at the resources, the products our people have, and work with them on that level. For example, that brother in Uganda who is growing coffee, we have to look on how we can market that coffee for him. The brother in Shashamani who dealing with the herbs and spices and so on, we have to see how we can work with him to make a difference. Anything our brothers and sisters are dealing with, we have to begin to start business because the objective is for them to be able to create business because the business that are enforced are not compensating them at a reasonable level. So we have to begin to make that difference. Or we can talk all we want. It won't change. It will not change.
President General, can man live by just words alone?
The good thing that it's free to talk. No one can stop you from talking. So you
Okay.
can say anything you want, and people usually do. Um, However, at some point we have to stop and think and ask ourselves the words that we are spewing from our mouth. But are they making a difference? Are they building? Does it make sense? And if not, we have to start talking the words and backing it up with the work. And the thing is that we have to help our people create businesses so they can hire themselves. Say look at the United States or any economic system that's growing. You have to realize that the reason why the systems are growing because the average citizen, whether easy or hard, have a right, have a reason, have a possibility of growing from the lowest level to the highest level. Usually, even us in America, it's not meant for us that way. We're just getting the scraps. But at least in a system, you can open a business if you want. Our brothers and sisters in most of these countries will never open a business or be able to open a business unless something accidentally happened. So we have to make sure not only something accidentally happened, but we have to plan something to happen to make this difference because at the compensation rate that our people are receiving worldwide, there's no way they can cover their expenses and save a little to open a business, to even take a vacation to be able to see what we're seeing the world over. We have to ask ourselves how many people from Jamaica, Haiti, Trinidad, Ghana, Liberia, and those other countries, how many of our brothers and sisters can afford some of these trips? So again, we just have to continue to build. And since we're in Liberia, it's just a great thing that we want to work with Liberia. We want to work with the government. Anywhere our people are, we're going to have to work with the government for the betterment of our people. But you can make a difference when your financial base is strong.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
President
brother.
General, I got a million questions I forgot to ask you. Number one, what time is it where you're at?
What time is it now? It's what after one. It's 1:55,
Almost 2
almost
o'clock in the morning.
2
And
a.m. Yeah,
I wanted our listeners to appreciate that. So you're 5 hours ahead. So it's almost 2 in
yeah.
the morning and he's up there. That's number one. Number two, President General, you keep talking about that need to be compensated better to be able to have a gainful employment and to start their own business. President General, why is it necessary? Why is it absolutely necessary to create small businesses? Please answer that.
You have to realize that take where we live. It's not the big gigantic companies that keep the economic system going. Sure, they help, but it's the small businesses that's hiring 5 people, 7 people, 10 people, 20 people. It's the small business where the average citizen owns these businesses and benefiting from the economic system, where you see wealth is not only being grown at one level, but every level of the economic system. If the small business stop existing and stop hiring, the economic system would fall.
Okay.
And if it happens in America for 6 months to a year, where the small businesses are not hiring and they're laying off, you will see America economic system begin to get weak. So imagine these countries that have existed for 60 years, and the average citizen, the average person is not involved in the economic system. And most of our people are not involved in the economic system because, again, the rate at which they're being compensated, they cannot afford to fully grow and participate. They're not really participating in the system.
Okay. As I said, I have a million questions. We specifically did not discuss Ethiopia. That's going to be tomorrow. I wanted to spend quality time on Kenya. Okay, President General, I forgot to extend my well wishes to the President and the First Lady. Please convey my salutations. And what's the status update of the elections in Liberia?
Well, says the runoff election is next week, Tuesday, the 14th.
Okay.
And everyone is looking forward to it. And the president and his team, they're working very hard, reaching out to the people. They're not taking anything for granted. The president has made a big difference. One of the main thing he has done that you have to be thankful for whenever you decide to build an economic system, part of it has to be where you're building roads
Yes.
because it connects one region to the next. But to remember, we traveled to the southern region, brother Dugue, and it took us
Mm.
over 13 hours for a ride that maybe should take 5, 6 hours. And by doing that, you have the possibility of those people being able to bring their products to a larger market where
Yes, sir.
transportation becomes much easier. So the president has made a big difference where that is concerned. And that's the starting of any good economic system, creating the roads so people can get by.
President General, do you remember one time while we were there, the street lights came on? Remember
Yes, yes.
on Tubman Road on the RIA? That was cool. So I definitely see change, and everything is going in the right direction. So, President General, will you be campaigning? Will you be involved from now until next Tuesday?
Of course, I have to do what I can do to make that difference, and I intend to do that.
Okay. Oh man. Now I'm jealous. That I would like to do. Okay. So you're going to be out there with our brethren. Oh gosh. Do you remember the first time you went to Liberia and you were on the beach with the mayor, the current mayor, and you were with ex-child soldiers? I remember when you called me, you were so excited. You said, Brother Raymond, I was with like 200, even 300. I was feeding them and we were on the beach. Go ahead. Relieve that memory for me. Go right ahead, sir.
Yeah, but it was great to I've met some of these brothers who fought in the war as child soldiers, and they were forced to participate in a war that they didn't start. But just meeting our brothers and what's and sisters was just amazing, and it was my first time coming to Liberia, so it meant a lot. It was very inspirational to me, and it did make a difference in my life. It also recommitted me to the struggle of African people and brothers and sisters. Each and every one of us have a role to play. I remember you and I at one point, we were just giving, giving, giving. The reason why we were giving because we said we didn't create the medium from which our people can work and make a difference. So that's where we are heading to now, my dear brother.
President General, and we're going to stick on this topic. You know, you've and, you were in Turks and Caicos. You quickly investigated the minimum wage. Jamaica, you know well. You know Ghana. You know Liberia, Senegal, and especially we found out in Kenya and Ethiopia. President General, as you said, that must be the basis. You got to provide basics, food, water, food, and shelter. But a living wage, I mean, you have to be able to do certain things. And that's not happening. And we know why. I mean, if somebody's got their boot on your neck, it's difficult to overcome that. But that's our goal here. President General, you know, unless those wages can become a living wage, we're going to be in trouble. But let's extend that. But isn't that the reason why revolutionaries make revolution, to make changes, to make life better for their brethren? Go ahead. Please expand on that.
It's simple call breakout from oppression. Um, if you keep something under steam for too long, sooner or later it's going to explode.
Yes.
No one is going to continuously take that type of oppression. People have to believe that there is a possibility. You look at a lot of the young men in Jamaica, and they have chosen a life of crime, because a lot of them, when they look at their life, they don't see any possibility of progress. They don't see any possibility of positive change. So they go and they take their chance. They take their chance with whatever is in front of them, and they try to get what they think they want or need now, and to get it the quickest way. But if you give someone an option, a viable option, most of the time that person will build an option, but will take that option. But don't say people don't want to work, they don't want to do this, they don't want to do it, says do that, when you're making it convenient for yourself and your systems.
During the summer, and I guess it's we're gonna have to wrap up. During the summer, when the fourth assistant president general and I, Brother Quahir, traveled to Pittsburgh, we were staying at a hotel, and it was a young brother. I think we got there at night, no, because we didn't go to the hotel first. It's actually not in Pittsburgh, you know. Anyway, the point is we've visited this and that. We were ambassadors for The Rock. We went to see the business that supports The Rock. Anyway, so then we went to the meeting itself, the National Black United Front. So we didn't check in the hotel till very, very late, very late. So it's a young brother who is doing the night shift. And you know me, I start speaking with him. Well, basically, I'm recruiting. So I have to introduce the UNIA, the concept of gainful employment, creation of jobs. And then I tell the brother, you realize if you create jobs, you don't have time to cause trouble. You don't have time to do anything. And then he responds, yeah, I know that because I'm stuck in this job. No, meaning because he had this job, he wasn't out there doing other things. And he said, that's so right. And the way he said it, we've got to create jobs, because once you're employed, and I think he means gainful employment, you just don't have time for nonsense. You just want to continue working, continue investing in this. And so Quahir was laughing all night, and he said, I think you really reached the young man when you talked about jobs, and like he couldn't hang out anymore because look at it, was midnight. On a weekend, he would be hanging out, but he's got to go to work. And he didn't know.
Brother Brother Duge, you mentioned a word, and I want you to explain what that means. Um, you could just basically say employed or employment, but you said gainfully. What does it mean to be gainfully employed?
Gainful employment allows you to earn a living wage, allows you to not just survive, but to thrive. See, if you're just employed, you're just surviving. But gainful employment allows you to thrive, to be able to add and assist each other. I have a joke for you. I was young, dumb, and not too smart. So I'm speaking to my dad after I started working in a whatever corporation. Anyway, so I tell my dad, I'm still not making enough. I expect to be making more. And so my father said to me, do you know what gainful employment is? I said, yeah, when you make a lot of money. He said, no. Gainful employment, he said to me, if you make $10, you live on $3. So I said, really? And so that became my motto. If I only make 10, I got to live on 3. That means there's a self-sacrifice involved because you see the greater good. You're trying to build your nation. We don't have all the resources or the skills yet. But until you do that, you've got to sacrifice. You've got to believe. You've got to know that this is what has to be done for the betterment of others. So in terms of finances, in terms of money, I've given you the legitimate definition of gainful employment, but according to Mr. Duguay, Raymond Duguay Sr., gainful employment is if you make $10, you live on 3. So I'm going to leave it right there.
So, and my final word on that is that you look at our people, to all these islands and countries we have traveled to, our people are not gainfully employed because most of them, they need a dime to survive, and they're making a nickel.
Mm.
They need a dime to survive. However, they're making a nickel. There's no way they can catch up.
Never, never. And they know, and the system knows that. That's why they create. But President General, you know, the more we travel, the more I travel, the more I know Mr. Garvey is correct. I mean, I already knew it, but I know it even more. And it's the same conditions. These are universal conditions. That's why the cure must be the universal Negro Improvement Association African Communities League. President General, your last thoughts on Mr. Garvey and Liberia. Go right ahead.
Brothers and sisters, the plan is laid out clearly. The Black Prince are here. Brothers and sisters, our brothers and sisters, they need us. They need us for us to organize under this great banner so we can make a better tomorrow for them and for us. Brothers and sisters, we don't have time. We have to do it now. Our brothers and sisters the world over are suffering. The world is taking advantage of them. They are still being compensated at slave wages. We have to stop that. You and I are in this position because people sacrificed and died for us. We don't have to die anymore. We just have to organize, spend our dollars properly, and invest them where they're going to be beneficial to our people under the banner of one God, one aim, one destiny. And of course, my dear brothers and sisters, under the banner of Race First.
And finally, what time are you getting up tomorrow? Well, it's already tomorrow. What time are you getting up to do what you need to do for Liberia and for the government and for Liberty Farm?
Well, when I came in today, when I came in from the airport, it was dark, so I wasn't able to go to Liberty Farm. But that's on my agenda to get up bright and early in the morning, head to Liberty Farm so I can see the progress that's there.
Right, bright and early. What time is that? I mean, it's already after 2 o'clock in the morning. So what time are you getting up, sir?
So I figure by 7.
Wow. No rest for the weary. So for all our listeners, use that as your guide. The President General, it's 2 o'clock. It's after 2 o'clock in the morning. He's got things to do. Liberty Farm, he's got things to do. So as much as we may complain that we're tired, it's after 2 o'clock in the morning in Liberia, in Monrovia. Okay, President General, I could stay here. Well, once we get this UNIA Rock Media up and running, we can talk forever. That's the best part. So we're definitely going to do that. And the studio's almost finished. I'm going to decorate it with what we purchased in Africa because, that's what I stand for. Anytime you see me, anytime you walk into my home, my residence, I want it to be there's no confusion where this African stands, what this African believes in. So same thing for these studios. So without further ado, all Africans listening to community-focused UNIA Rock Media, shout out to Ethiopia, Kenya, Uganda, Jamaica, Ghana, North America. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So please repeat after me as we sign off. Africa.
Africa.
For the Africans.
For the Africans.
Those at home.
Those at home.
And those abroad.
Those abroad.
God.
On God.
One aim.
One aim.
And one destiny.
One destiny.
And of course, Race First. Long live Jean-Jacques Dessalines, Carlos Coates, the Honorable Mosiah Garvey, Ethiopia, Nigeria, Uganda, and your president, the Honorable Michael Duncan. See you. Well, it's already tomorrow for you, but see you tomorrow in North American time. Have a good night, sir.
Good night.
Race First. Bye-bye.
The Community Focus Show is brought to you by Jamaica Breeze.
Rally round the red, gold, black and green. Rally round